Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor. The professor did take a break after finishing the Environment to Choose story, which I hope you've all had a chance to watch by now, but I'm back, at least for now. This feature is crowd-supported. We depend on you for the questions and also for contributions. You go to my website at johnrobson.ca and make a monthly donation so that I can continue to provide this and all the other things that I do. Our first question after the hiatus comes from Andre, and he says, isn't it waving the flag and playing the national anthem at sports events that politicizes them, not players who might then protest subsequently? After all, he says, we don't play the national anthem at the theater or the circus, so why do we do it at a hockey or football game? And I'll grant him that he's right on two conditions. And the two conditions are these. First of all, that a sports event is just another form of entertainment that appeals to a particular segment, that it's not a really significant community event. And the second one is that patriotism is a political issue. You know, as to the first one, art lovers might say, well, theater is a expression of community spirit, but the fact of the matter is that the audiences at theater events are usually small, and I would say relatively homogenous in socioeconomic terms. But sporting events, particularly those major sports, I mean hockey in Canada, to some extent football here, certainly football in the United States, where a college game can draw 70,000 people, also baseball and basketball, these really are an expression of the community, that people come out and they cheer a team. It matters to a city how their team is doing. And if you look around in a sports stadium, you do see the community. You see rich and poor. You see religious and atheist. You see every ethnicity represented. And I think more than that, a sporting event, some people think sports are absolutely ludicrous, and there are certainly things to complain about, including, I think, the entitled mentality of the athletes these days. But sports have always been popular. Communities have cared about sports, and it's drawn such a wide spectrum of people because they exemplify virtues that we continue to think are important. It's not just a matter of having athletic skill. It's a matter of having the dedication to hone those skills. In most sports, there's teamwork. There's certainly courage, perseverance, the ability to rebound from setbacks. That's why I think people love an underdog victory so much. And in that sense, I do think sports events are different from the circus or the theater. I remember Detroit in 1968, a city that was racked by riots and the terrible troubles of the 1960s in America. When the Detroit Tigers won the World Series that year, it really helped bring the city together. It meant something that everyone in Detroit, no matter where they stood on these other issues, could be in favor of the baseball team. But the other point, which I think is even more important, is the idea that somehow playing the national anthem is political, that it divides those people who love their country from those people who despise their country, and that this shouldn't be a point of contention. But you know what? Loving your country or not loving your country isn't like loving the Ottawa Senators, hating the Toronto Maple Leafs, pitying them, wishing the Canadiens could recover their glory, thinking that the Las Vegas Raiders might be worth following, whatever taste you may have in sports, or perhaps you prefer billiards or think the whole thing is a waste of time. But to think that Canada or the United States is a waste of time, to say because they elected a president I don't like, the country's a write-off, everything about it is wrong, that is not just an attitude like saying it's silly to watch grown men hit spheres with sticks. So I don't agree that the flag and the national anthem politicize the event. I don't see why anybody should feel that the national anthem is an affront to them. If there are things they don't like about their country, historical injustices, surely they believe also that their country has a tradition of rectifying these historical injustices. Unless, of course, you live in a country where there is no self-government, where things are terribly unjust, where free speech is suppressed, and the best thing you could really do is just get out of Dodge and make it to a country like Canada or the United States where you are free, including free to express your dissent. So, if you think that sports events are not a gathering of the community to celebrate values the community thinks are important, and I think patriotism is a partisan issue, then yes, playing the national anthem, waving the flag, is what politicizes the event. But if you don't believe those two things, if you think this is the community gathering, and if you think they're gathering around certain common values of which patriotism, not unquestioning patriotism, but patriotism is a very important one, then no. And it is the protesters who are spoiling the mood by objecting perhaps to the right thing, but doing it in the wrong place at the wrong time and in the wrong way. If you have a question for Ask the Professor, go to the URL on the screen. That will tell you how to submit it. And again, if you value what I'm doing, including this feature, please go to johnrobson.ca, click the Yes, I'll Help button, and make a monthly pledge, because I depend on you to keep these things in production.